How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to episode here on Let's Build Twitter. As always, I'm Ethan, or Unknown Coder, your favorite underqualified senior software engineer. If you do want access to the private repository, there's a link in the description down below that'll walk you through exactly how to gain access to that. Now, that being said, let's go and hop into what we're working on today. Today, we're going to go ahead and continue working on getting all of our buttons working here. The last thing that we need to go ahead and do is fix up our schedule. So that's what we're going to work on. We're going to go ahead and fix up the slides to actually be able to start scheduling posts. We're going to make some modifications to our feed post creator itself to display when it's actually scheduled. We're also going to go ahead and update the schedule logic as well to actually work like Twitter's. Once we get past that, we'll see how much time we have left from there. We need to go ahead and actually be able to create posts and all of that stuff. So we might have time to deal with that. We might not. We'll just kind of see. So that being said, let's go ahead and hop into the code and get to work here. We need to go ahead and start out inside of our post slides v2 to be able to go ahead and update the scheduled date and all that good stuff. Let's go ahead and come up here. We're going to make a new interface. So we're going to have an interface, and we're going to go ahead and call this update scheduled post or payload. There we go. And then here we're going to go ahead and have scheduled, which is a boolean. And we're going to go ahead and have our scheduled date, which is going to be a date or undefined. So we're going to switch up how we're dealing with scheduled a little bit. That way it works a lot more like Twitter. There's some oversight that I didn't really think about whenever I first did this. So now underneath our set poll date, we're going to come down here. We're going to go ahead and update scheduled. And then here we'll have state and our action, which is a payload action. And inside of our payload action, we're going to have update scheduled payload. And let's go and open this guy up. Here it's going to be very simple. Return ... state. And then here we'll say scheduled will be action.payload, and then scheduled, and then our scheduled date will be action.payload.scheduled dates. Let's go ahead and export this. So this is just part of the work that we need to do. Update scheduled. Now I need to actually make some logic changes to make this work more like Twitter's. So first, let's go into the modal content that deals with this. So inside of our schedule post modal content, we need to go ahead and set up a couple of things. So we're going to go ahead and here, instead of saying use state new date, we're going to go ahead and update this guy. So now we're going to go ahead and have a function here that does more than just says new date. We can say let scheduled date equal to new date. So this is going to be like our default, but if we've already scheduled it and then reopen it, we want the scheduled date to be there again. So we're going to go ahead and check create post DTO, which I need to go ahead and create. So we're going to go and say const and create post DTO equal to use selector, and then in here we'll go ahead and say state root state, and then this will be state dot post v2. There we go. So now we'll say create post DTO dot scheduled date. So if we have a scheduled date, we're going to go ahead and return create post DTO dot scheduled date, and then otherwise we need to go ahead and update this. So scheduled date dot set date, and we're going to push it out in the future. So we scheduled date dot get and then date, so that'll be like the day and then +5. So we're going to go ahead and set up the scheduled date that way. And I broke this somehow. Let's see, create post scheduled date. What did I do wrong here? Probably mad because it could return undefined or something. Yes, it is, but it can't because we checked to make sure there's a date. So why are you mad? Oh, it's because we're not returning scheduled date. Duh. Let's go ahead and return and then scheduled, date here. That should fix it. There we go. Okay, I just need to know what I'm doing. Cool. So now this part is kind of funky. We need to go ahead and find our update scheduled date. So here, and we're going to go ahead and remove this wherever it's at. Let's see here, if validated feature. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of this here. And then we're just going to go ahead and have the set schedule date. We're going to go ahead and delete this. And we're just going to go ahead and say set scheduled date. And then we're going to go ahead and say date, maybe date copy. And this part is the most scary part of this entire thing almost, just because I know that we can just destroy everything here. We also want to do the same thing here. So we want to go ahead and delete this. So we'll get rid of that. That one we already set the schedule date. And then what we're going to go and do is we're just going to use a use effect and check to see if it's valid inside the use effect. So we'll go ahead and do this. We'll say use effect. And then here we'll go ahead and do one of these. We're going to go ahead and watch the scheduled date, which should work because we are making a new copy of it every time. We're going to go say if validated date or valid date future date, like so. And then here this will be scheduled date, like that. And we'll go ahead and dispatch. We're going to dispatch update scheduled, like so. We want to make sure this is coming from our post slice v2. That's very important. And inside of update scheduled is going to equal to false, or actually create post DTO dot scheduled, whatever we already have. It could be false, it might not be. And then scheduled date will just be scheduled date. Here the idea is if we already have it scheduled, we'll keep it scheduled. If we previously did it, we're not going to go ahead and say true until we actually click apply. That's the idea here. That way if you close out of it without actually saving, it's not just going to automatically schedule it for us. So now we need to go ahead and put that logic into motion as well inside of our top. So let's go into the schedule post modal top. So now in here, instead of just close modal, we have to do a little bit extra work in here. So we still will need this dispatch here. We're going to go and check if. We probably need to go ahead and bring in our create post DTO. So const create post DTO is equal to use selector. And here it will say state root state and state dot post v2, like so. And then in here, we'll go ahead and check if we have a, or if not, create post and then DTO dot scheduled. So if we're not currently scheduled, we'll dispatch, and then we'll go ahead and dispatch update scheduled first. And then inside there, we'll go ahead and have our object, and we'll say scheduled is equal to false. I feel like this should be scheduled date, but maybe I'm wrong. And then we'll also go ahead and say scheduled date will be undefined. I guess not, because if we're closing out of it before actually saving, that's fine. That's what we want. And then we'll go ahead and dispatch that. And then we actually need to go ahead and set up a confirm. So we'll go ahead and have a function and confirm. And then here we'll go ahead and say confirm scheduled date. Here we have an maybe react.mouse event. And this is going to be on an HTML button element, and we'll need to go ahead and create a button for this in a second as well. Here we'll say e.prevent default so it doesn't do no weird stuff, and we'll dispatch here. Inside we'll go ahead and dispatch update scheduled as we did before, and inside of this scheduled will now be true. And then we'll go ahead and say scheduled date is going to be create post DTO that scheduled date. And then we'll also go ahead and dispatch, and this will go ahead and dispatch update update display, and then this one is schedule, and then we'll go ahead and close out of that. So basically if we close the modal, if we're already scheduled, we'll just close it. If we're not scheduled, we'll wipe out everything, and whenever we confirm, we'll go ahead and officially schedule. But now we need to go ahead and also set up a cancel so we can get rid of it. So we'll go ahead and say function and then cancel scheduled. And this is going to also take in an react.mouse event on HTML button element. And inside here, we'll go ahead and say prevent default. And then we'll also dispatch, once again, update scheduled. And inside our update scheduled, we'll go ahead and say scheduled is now false. And our scheduled date is now undefined because we don't want to be scheduled anymore. And then we'll dispatch, once again, our update display schedule, like that. And then that's good to go. Now we need to go ahead and work on our buttons here. So what we want to go ahead and do is in our top bar right, we have our confirm, which is instead of close modal, is now going to be go ahead and say confirm scheduled date. And then we're going to go ahead and we don't need to do that. We just need to do that. And now this is mad at us because of what? Confirm schedule date. That should be fine. It's just mad for no reason. And beside this guy, we're going to have curly braces. We're going to say create post DTO dot scheduled. So if we are already scheduled, then we want to have the option to cancel. So here I have a button, class name equal to schedule and scheduled post dash modal dash top bar dash clear. And I don't know if that's supposed to be scheduled or schedule. I'm just going to rename it to schedule and then probably break everything, but it's fine. On click is going to go ahead and be cancel scheduled. Maybe if I could type, that'd be cool. Cancel scheduled. And then finally inside, it's going to say clear and let it complain for a second. That's fine. So now we are able to clear, confirm, and if we close the modal, it'll just close. Now we need to make some style changes. So let's hop into the schedule post modal top bar. Now inside the CSS, first we need to come down to about line 26. And we need to add in a gap. So here, we're just going to go ahead and say a gap. And this is going to be about 16 px. Then we need to go ahead and set up some new stuff here. So I'm just going to come down here. So dot schedule, whoops, schedule dash post modal top dash bar. And this is going to be clear. Inside of our top bar clear, our height is going to be 32 px. We're going to have a padding of 0, 16 px. And then a font dash size, maybe, of 14 px. We're going to go ahead and have a font dash weight of 600. We'll have a color of black and then a text dash decoration of underline. We'll have a background of transparent because since it's a button, we don't want to show up. We'll have a border of none. Whoops, a border none. A border dash radius of 16 px because it's going to be a hover effect. We'll also have an outline of none. And then let's go ahead and set up the hover. So dot schedule dash post modal dash top, whoops, dash bar, clear, maybe, and then hover. Here we'll have a cursor, a pointer, and we'll also have a background dash color of RGBA 0,0,0, and then 0.1. And that should be good to go. Now we need to go ahead and do like a couple more things for this is really working. So next we need to go into our date utils and set up a way to stringify a date to display inside of the create feed post or feed post creator, whatever the heck it's called. Let's hop into our date utils. Inside our date utils, let's go ahead and scroll down to where other stringify stuff is. I'm just going to go ahead and throw it here, I suppose. We're going to say export const, and this is going to go ahead and be stringify. And this is going to be scheduled, whoops, scheduled date. And this is going to go ahead and take in a date. Let's go ahead and do this. This is going to be really gross. We're going to return backticks $, curly brace. So we're going to say get day of week. And this is going to be date dot and then sub string. And this is going to be 0, 2. Outside this, we're going to have $, curly brace, months, and then date dot get month, and then here this will be +1, and once again dot sub string, and this will be substring of 0, 2. So the first three will have $, curly brace, date dot get date, okay, comma, $, curly brace, date dot get full year. So full maybe year. Okay, let me scroll over a little bit, and then we're going to go ahead and have at $, curly brace, stringify, and this is going to be stringify time. And once again, we're going to go ahead, if I could type stringify, and then time, and then here we'll have the date. So it seems like I spelled something wrong for get day of week because I put date instead of day. So let's go ahead and fix that. So get day of week. Okay, so that's going to be our stringified schedule date. Hopefully no typos. I think I got everything in there. It's pretty gross, but what can you do? So now what we need to go ahead and do is go into our feed post creator and add everything in there. So now inside of our feed post creator, let's go ahead, and I have no idea where this is actually supposed to go. It says line 86. So let's see here. I think it goes above this guy. So again, 86 is nowhere near what this is, but I believe it goes right here. We're going to say create post DTO scheduled and create post DTO scheduled date. We want to make sure they're both there. That way it's, for whatever reason, it's not undefined. And if that's the case, we're going to go ahead and say div class name equal to, and this is going to be feed dash post creator dash scheduled. On click, we'll go ahead and equal to open scheduled modal. That's why we brought that in. I forgot about that. And then inside of here, we'll have a scheduled, and then this is our schedule time SVG. Bring that in. Our width will equal to 20. Whoops. Our height will equal to 20. And then our color will equal to, and this will be pound 657786, our dark gray color. And below this, we'll say will send on, and then parentheses, we want to go ahead and stringify, and this is going to go ahead and stringify scheduled date. And then here we'll go ahead and pass in create post TTO scheduled date, and it'll go ahead and display that. And then here I spelled scheduled wrong. Of course, I forgot an E. Now we have a create post DTO scheduled, and that's good. Now we need to go ahead and actually go about doing the CSS for this. Let's go ahead and copy this guy, and let's hop into the feed post creator CSS. Inside of our feed post creator CSS, let's go ahead and throw it here. It doesn't really matter where it goes. So dot, then feed post creator scheduled. So display will be flex. We'll go ahead and align items in the center. We're going to go ahead and put a gap on this. Whoops, a gap of 8px, not 89, 8px. Color will be pound 657786. And then we'll go ahead and have a font dash size of about 13px. The rest looks good. And dot feed dash post dash creator, and then dash scheduled on hover. Inside of our hover, we'll have cursor pointer, and this just gonna have a text dash decoration of underline. So now in theory, we should be able to actually update and grab our scheduled. So let's hop into the front end and see how this is looking. So we go ahead and refresh this. We go ahead and just type in here. Hopefully we don't have an infinite loop going on. We'll say what's poppin'. Then we'll go ahead and hop into this. Now this will open up. It says we'll send on this date. We'll confirm. So if we just go ahead and confirm that, you can see we'll send on Tuesday. So I messed up this. Let me double check this. I guess that should be 3. Let's go back into our date utils. I copied exactly what I had, but I guess I screwed up. And let me make sure it's not supposed to be uppercase or anything. It's not. Okay, let's go ahead and hop back in there then. There we go. We'll send on Tuesday, March 11th at 6:10 a.m. We'll go and click this. And now this is broken. I need to look into this. I forgot to do that. But if we go and clear this, it should close. It goes away. So that's looking good. I think there might be some extra space up here that I need to look into. I'm not sure. I need to do some double searching on that. But now we can go ahead and do that. Now the last thing that we need to deal with is the emojis. Right now, whenever you click on emoji, it's not going to actually add it. Let's go ahead and set up our emojis here. And then what we'll go ahead and do is we'll wrap up the episode there. And the next episode, we'll go ahead and either submit the post or start working on images. I think we're going to submit the post next episode. But yeah, let's go and hop into our code again. Let's set up the emoji drop down to get working. And then that'll be everything set up for just creating a regular old post. So inside of our emoji dropdown, let's go ahead and set up our const create post DTO is equal to use selector. Let's go ahead and bring in use selector of our state and post state. Whoops, this would be root state, and this will be state.post v2. So that's good to go. Make sure we bring in use selector. I think it's just being slow. That's fine. Now let's go ahead and we need to go down to where we append emoji to post. So let's go ahead and find that. So here is our append emoji to post. This is going to be fun. This one kind of scares me as well. So here, once again, we'll still have this guy. We'll still have this guy. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and get rid of this, basically this current post and current reply. And inside of here, we're going to delete this. And this is going to go ahead and be say let content equal to create post DTO dot content. And we're going to say let updated content equal to content plus emoji. And then finally, we'll go ahead and dispatch. And this is going to go ahead and dispatch update post state, of course. And then in here, we'll just go ahead and have a property. And here, this will go ahead and be content. And then we'll also have our value to be updated content like so. So that's good to go. And then we're going to go ahead and scroll down. There should be a broken place down here. So we don't need this. We also do not need to go through here. We're going to go ahead and get rid of this. And this will be create post DTO dot content. And this will be search emojis dot length. So we'll go ahead and fix that up, and that should be good to go. So now we should be able to hopefully start seeing emojis popping up once again. Let's go ahead and hop in to our front end, and I broke it, of course. I accidentally imported use selector twice. Let's go ahead and fix that. I don't know why I tried importing it again, but it is what it is. We also don't need current post and current reply anymore, so let's go and get rid of that. And let's go ahead and fix this. There we go. And then let's go and get rid of this, get rid of this. Why is use selector not bringing it in? There we go. And then let's also clean this up. I don't know where this reducer action came from. Cool, that should be cleaned up now. Let's take another look. Let's go to refresh. And then now if we go ahead and say, what's poppin', being slow, okay, what's poppin', go into emojis. And then we can go ahead and put like a smiley face. You can see that's working fine. Again, I want to go through and refactor this guy and make it a little bit nicer and work a little bit better. But I think that's going to go ahead and wrap it up. I know this one's going to be another shorter one. Next episode is going to be setting up all of our async dunks and all that stuff. And that's going to take quite a bit of time. So I know I don't want to pile onto this episode. So hopefully next episode we'll get to creating posts again and then start working on actually editing images and all of that stuff. And after we get done with editing images, we have a lot of work to do. First, adding descriptions and stuff like that. So with that being said, y'all, hope you have a great day. If you did enjoy, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Everything helps out here with the YouTube algorithm. And if you do want us to do your stuff from absolute scratch, like over here or something, there's going to be a playlist that you click on that'll walk you through exactly how we got to this point. So that being said, y'all, this has been Ethan around No Coder. Have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next video.